truth on my blade, every line's exploded. You swing your words, I counter with precision. Battle of reason, this is my mission. Raise your fist, let them know. No. Raise your voice, let it blow. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Yeah. No fear, no chain, no treason. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Yeah. No fear, no chain, no treason. Woo! We clash our swords of reason.
Welcome, everybody, to Swords of Reason, right here on the SpeakeaZy show, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And this is where logic meets passion. Today's debate prompt, God isn't necessary for Eternals. And for the affirmative, we have Tareyak, an aspiring professional memester, and is known for his witty memes, his Wheel of Madness show, talking pop culture news, politics and philosophy. He has a channel right here on YouTube, and you can find it in the description. And for the negative, we have MadeByJimbob, a professional noticer, cartoonist, commentator, and cultural critic, known for his philosophical breakdown, sharp satire, and hand-drawn comics. Also with a channel here on YouTube that you can find in the description. So debaters, you know the rules. We're going to start with the affirmative. So Tareyak, whenever you're ready, I will start the timer up with your voice. And thank you both for being here.
Yeah, hell, Prometheus, first of all, thank you to Easy for hosting, setting all this up. And also just like all the help I've been getting, like even my like a logo and all this kind of stuff is designed by Easy. So massive shout out to Easy. And also I want to say a massive thanks to Jimbob for showing up. But not only that, but also for our previous debate as well, where if you want to go back and check that, it was quite bloody for me. If you want to see me get destroyed, in that debate, Jimbob asked me a simple question: "What is truth?" and I wasn't able to answer it, and it was quite an embarrassing moment to be said. But like I said, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. My answer to the prompt is I ground Eternals in the statement Pantherae, which is the ancient Greek. And yes, Easy, we're going back to the river. That translated means everything flows, which means change affects everything, basically. It's the whole thing about you cannot step into the same river twice, you cannot touch the same particle twice, you cannot even have the same thought twice. Because like the word same means unchanging. Because even like the scientists would agree, the quantum fields, the entropy, the expansion of space-time itself never stops moving. Change affects everything. And what governs that change, which Heraclides called the logos, which translates word. So then in terms of like how do you define word? But whatever word you want to use to describe that cause of that change is itself unchanging. It has to be, because change is constant. Change never stops. The logos, as Heraclides would put it, is eternal. Now, this is a trap, because even if you try to deny that change and say change doesn't affect everything, then whatever you'd be pointing to would be an eternal. So, like I said, that's a trap, and it's also a nuclear bomb that's going to blow up, if not one ideology, but multiple. So I just want to put a pin in that at the moment, because Jimbob's not going to fall for that trap. That's why he's drinking the bourbon. You know what I'm saying? Because Jimbob can destroy this argument with just 3 words. That is God. You know what I'm saying? And that basically destroys my whole argument. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And everyone chat saying, Taryak's gone full retard. He's even conceding in his open statement. But I remind you all that a winning strategy sometimes necessitates sacrifice. So what if I went beyond full retard? What if I was such a retarded atheist that I proved God with my own argument? Because to go back to that pin that we had earlier on, this whole aspect of everything that ever was, everything that ever will be, everything in existence right now is under constant motion. And this is an undeniable fact. Literally everything changes. And that pattern, the law, the formula, the logos, whatever word you want to use, whatever governs that change must be in itself unchanging. You know what I mean? Because change itself never stops, never changes. And here's the ironic part as well. The logos would be all powerful, which means it causes all change. It would be all present, because it's present everywhere, and it's also the source of all knowledge, which is ain't that a bitch, you know? So like the reason like why Tareyak, why would you do this? Because in terms of the current conversation happening, the brick wall that we run into is that the atheist essentially is saying, I need empirical evidence. But change is physical. It's measurable, ergo it's empirical. So this makes atheism, it basically nukes it off the entire map. Everything that exists is eternal. Oh, sorry. Everything that exists is in eternal measurable change. And this is one empirical fact that no materialist, no atheist, no agnostic can ever deny. And even no agnostic atheist as well, Indian Jesus, without lying to your face. Because this is why if you think back to that Indian Jesus debate that JimBob had on the after panel, I kept screaming into the mic to Waterkai, you can't deny change. Because even to deny change requires motion. Even for humans to exist requires motion. Your heart is constantly beating, you're constantly breathing. So in terms of this aspect of motion, it is the one necessary thing for life to even exist. So for them to deny it is absolutely crazy. And just one of the things that I just want to read off in terms of like Heraclitus, because this is where I got all this from. God, or what we call Theos, is day, night, winter, summer, war, peace, society, and hunger. But like this is kind of poetry, but you need to look at this from the aspect God is day and night and the change in between. Because there is no like one like eternal aspect of day. Like part of describing the day is that it's becoming night. And part of the describing night is becoming day. And again, like Heraclitus doesn't mention this here, but the Christians say the same thing. God is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God is the Father, the Son, and the change in between. That's the Trinity, baby. You know what I mean? So like I said, in terms of JimBob, take this empirical argument, use it. Even if you want to do a 2v2, I'll be up for that as well. Like even with the thing of God is real. And then, like I said, if you want, in terms of because again, like in terms of like what we want to discuss tonight, we could either go through like that argument, or in terms of like if you want to change the Christian God, because the way the prompt is phrased, I basically don't have a leg to stand on unless it's specifically Christian God. And with that, I see it the rest of my time.
All right. Thank you for that opening statement, Tareyak. And with that, we're going to hand the mic over to JimBob. And whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer up with your voice. And again, thank you both for being here.
What the fuck? So it sounded like you said the thing that's eternal is change. It sounds like you said the thing that you're referring to called change is the thing that needs to be eternal. And the only thing that's eternal is change. Of course, you couldn't really know that if all you had was change, because you need something unchanging and it can't be change itself. So if your mental states and your observations and your propositions and your brain are always changing because they are material flux molecules, then under the assumptions that you made in your opener, you can't even know that what change actually is, because you're appealing to a changing set of molecules to observe the thing you're calling change. The other problem with your affirmative here is that change itself is a metaphysical concept. Change isn't identical to nature. So change is a framework for an observation of what's going on in the external world. So you have a problem with your metaphysics. You think you're pointing to strict reality and saying it's change, but you're missing that it takes an intellect, a mind, to then overlay what you're calling flux. You have to actually categorize these things. Another big problem, which apparently you knew was a problem when I debated you 2 years ago or so, is that, and if I had known that that one question for you was going to lead you to where you are now, maybe I wouldn't have asked it. The reality is the thing you're calling change must necessarily be also true. It must be true that the change is going on. But now you have a bigger problem, because truth itself, like I asked you, what is truth? You have to account for these things. So if truth under this view is something eternal and not changing, that's something you have to say isn't changing, is the truth. So you can say the world is changing. That doesn't get you anywhere. You can say the external world is always changing, and that's the constant thing. But there needs to be something bigger than that which is the truth of the matter. That must be not changing. Now, if you say the truth is included in this eternal material world, the truth of the matter, if you said that was also changing, then you have no access to the statement everything's changing, because included with that, everything is the truth. So your worldview that you're positing that's eternal, you would say knowledge is eternal, metaphysics, the laws of physics, categories of things, particulars, information. You're going to have to say information is eternal. I think you're using the transcendental category and saying, look, the transcendental category, even though it's immaterial, you're saying that that category is eternal and uncreated, right? That seems to be what you're saying. But the thing is, the only thing you have to ground it in is the material world. And again, the problem with your position is that if you say there's a category of unchanging things that are transcendental, immaterial, and conceptual, if you say the world itself is what grounds those things, but in the same sentence, the world is always changing, then that category is always changing. So you could concede the debate now and we can change over to like libertarianism or something.
Beautiful. No, that was beautiful. Exactly. Like you have to explain why the physical. You know what I mean?
All right, all right, thank you for that opening statement. All right, so we're gonna get it. Yeah, that Tareyak's opening completely threw me off, that's for sure. We're gonna get into the 5-minute rebuttals here. All right. So I'm gonna hand the mic back to you, Tareyak. Whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful from Jimbob. Like that's exactly what I'm saying. Like the materialist cannot explain like the constant change that we have, because change is constant. Change is eternal. The physical manifestation of the eternal. So as you explain the eternal, you have to point to the metaphysical, which means the atheist, the materialist is fucked. They have like it literally nukes their entire argument. Atheism is dead. Fuck, God is dead. God's resurrected. We all know. Every Christian can tell you God can resurrect. Jesus resurrected. But atheism, that bitch is going to the grave. Oh, but sorry. With that, I see the rest of my time. Yeah,
all right, no problem. No.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then it's hard to distinguish your point of view from an atheist or even a Mormon, I think, which is like the thing that's eternal is the material world. That means that there was no creation of the material world.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
It's okay.
Uninterrupted.
So yeah, if you say, well, the atheist is fucked, I agree. But the thing is, if you say God's not necessary for these eternals, if I correctly listed the eternals you're speaking of, truth, let's just take information. If you say information is eternal, then you have to tell me grounded in what? Well, information is not actually found in matter. So you've necessitated another realm. But under your view, without God, you can't really point or ground that realm. So if information is not material, but information is something you're assuming exists in this eternal reality, if it doesn't require God, you're going to have to tell me what substitute do you use in place of God to ground things like information, invariant laws, laws of logic, mathematics, numbers, knowledge, etc. What are those going to, how are you going to ground those? If not in matter, try to ground it in matter.
Is that it for the rebuttal?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get over into the hour of open floor. To you guys, whoever wants to open the floor, I will start the timer up with your voice. And thank you both for being here.
Yeah, just real quick, easy to say, you can also roast with the super chats as well, just letting you know, just giving you more thing. But yeah, no, Jimbo, like I 100% agree. Like I can't ground it in just the material. I have to point to the immaterial. But one could argue that even the Big Bang Theory itself falls flat in its face, because you have to like what came before the Big Bang, you know, and you get into infinite regression. You know what I mean? What I'm pointing to with the change thing is like you basically saying is like that is God. That's what I'm saying. Like all you have to counter is like that is God. That's the physical manifestation of God. That is the empirical evidence that you seek, Mr. Atheist. Because you have to explain why change is constant. Because if there isn't motion, how can there even be human beings? How can your heart beat? How can you breathe?
Wait a second. Are you arguing that God is
I'm
actually
sorry. Yeah, I concede it. I concede the debate in my opening. That's why I called myself full retard, and I said, "What if I went beyond full retard?"
Oh, you
You know what I
went
mean?
beyond full retard and you conceded in
Yeah.
the opener. Yeah.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Thing of beauty,
Oh.
ain't it?
Yeah. It's beautiful. Now what?
Yeah, no, like this is what I'm saying. Like we can do Christian God for that, or like I said, we can just kind of go back and forth in terms of like how this completely destroys the atheist position.
Well, we already know how it destroys it. The atheists can't ground any of the things that they're appealing to. Hence, like if they say naturalism is a good explanation for things, they need to appeal to metaphysics, and naturalism can't appeal to metaphysics. So they might say the world itself is eternal, but they'd have the same problem. The world consists of immaterial things that you don't see. So they're in deep shit. So I mean,
And
what
furthermore, even like the very like technology that they're using, the laptop with the computer that they're using during the debate was first once an idea before it's physical.
Okay. Well, we might as well. We should just pair up as a team and ask two atheists to come out of the chat and try to argue that that materialism and naturalism can ground these metaphysical things.
Yeah, like I said, or if we do it in the future as well, because like I can twist it into like the Christian God if you want to take that, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
I mean, if there's nothing to debate, I mean, you know, I have a full glass of bourbon here, and you know,
let's start the party. So, how was your book of Job?
Wait, what? How was my? Is that a phrase in Ireland?
It's just the way Irish people ask, how's your book of Job? Like what do you like in terms of book of Job? Are you well read or?
No, not really. No, I thought you were referring to like something I'm going through in life or something. Like I thought that was an Irish reference, like things not going well.
Sure, you know yourself, dilly eye potato. But yeah, like, or what's the crack? In terms of the Job, the way I read it, or the reason why I can't call myself Christian, well, like I said, like I would argue that God is real against two atheists in future. If you ever want that, Jimbob, as well, like more than happy. Like the reason why like I can't do it is because in terms of like the way I read Book of Job is like a test. You know what I mean? Because like in terms of the like when you look at like Satan or like the adversaries, like original Gambit, it's that the only reason why he'd worship you is because you give him stuff, and at the end, God gives him twice the amount of things. But to the atheists out there, that's not me striking against Christianity. That makes it one of the greatest stories ever written because it's literally a test within scriptures. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything we don't agree on necessarily? Maybe something political or.
Well, hang on a second. But like my whole thing is that I've been getting called a Satanist and a heretic for giving that interpretation.
Oh, of Job there? Well, yeah. No, it's. I would say. I mean, that's a little far. I would just say it's. You know, you're saying that there's truth in parable or truth in symbol or truth in some sort of moral of the story in the Bible that you take value in particular, this references Job. But I'm not sure why that would follow that you're a Satanist. I'm not sure where people jump there, but I would just simply say if I'm not sure what reason you have not to be Orthodox Christian, except for proximity, and you're just too fucking lazy to get on your green bicycle.
Like, again, I don't want to be putting you on the spot and all this kind of stuff, because like I said, we agree. Like, that's the one thing that like I've been sitting here kind of saying I agree with these guys like so much on this kind of shit. But in terms of like the question, like, do you believe the virgin birth actually happened?
The virgin birth?
Yeah. And again, if you just want to say like I'm not trying to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, virgin birth. Yeah, I believe that. I believe actually, considering the miracles, virgin birth seems like not so big of a jump. I mean, look at the creation of the universe. If you thought it was plausible that God could literally create the universe from speaking from a conceptual will of good, certainly having a woman, a particular woman, the Theotokos, become pregnant, not from natural means is like, I mean, that's like God. I mean, that's like minimal, I would say, a minimal event in the grand scheme of things. I don't
But, like, it
understand. Like,
goes-
are you approaching that from a naturalistic perspective? And you're going, I just don't. That's one thing I can't get behind. And it's like, have you witnessed the regularity of the universe?
the way I look at it is in terms of the modern day, to cut straight to the point, in terms of modern day, and I'm going to go a bit like ancient Greek in terms of this, in terms of names, but I'll give the modern day example as well. So I think I need like 2 minutes or whatever. So like the way I look at it is like Zeus is coming back, and like I said, I keep saying that you got the Zeus beard. Like literally, if you made like a marble statue of Jimbob, he would literally pass as Zeus. You know what I mean, you're seeing this kind of rise back up because at the moment we have Kronos, and Kronos literally eats his own fucking children. Like he basically just like trades the future for the present power. And this is what you're seeing manifest in terms of like all these like left wing and all this kind of shit, where they're euthanizing the old, the women are killing their children, and then they're also sterilizing them even if they get born. So like even just to survive as a thing, but like this whole thing of difficult times make difficult men, because the actual conservatives coming out off the right wing, they're more hardened than any of us motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Because like the best I had to do was like avoid like a bar stool or some shit like that. Like when I was a kid, these motherfuckers have to avoid getting their dicks cut off. You know what I mean? And like that's where it's like I can make the joke and all this kind of shit with the leprechaun shit, but like in terms of the serious shit that's going on there, that shit needs to go to Tartarus. That needs to go away and get wiped out. You know what I mean?
On what basis?
So in terms of we will not have a future, things will end.
On what basis do we need a future from your worldview? For what purpose? Oh,
this is gonna no. This is gonna sound like a cop out, but it's like
shit.
No, because meaning.
No. Why meaning? Why pursue meaning?
Yeah,
why?
because meaning is life, which ties back to the whole discussion in terms of God.
No. Meaning isn't life. Life itself doesn't give you meaning. Something must have given us life. If life is the precondition for meaning, you're going to ask the question about. Well, yeah. If the metaphysical necessitates God, then you're going to have to. When you criticize the psychopaths that you're up against, when you say we have to stop this or we have to fight against this, there has to be some divine justice or an ordering of sorts. And I don't mean justice like punishment. I mean justice like you're helping align reality with a will outside of your own, to a will outside of your own. But from your view, that's why I asked you, why do you understand this stuff, but you're not Christian necessarily? I don't understand the why you're caught in between.
I don't know, maybe I'm just in purgatory, but I'm kind of like, if I could use a title or commit myself to a title or a word, it would probably be an instrumentalist.
No, not a title, a practice, a purpose. The title itself isn't what you're after. It's the praxis you're after. So what are you practicing if I granted you any title you thought sounded good? What are you practicing?
Seeking truth.
What? Speaking truth?
Seeking truth.
Seeking truth?
Or wisdom. Yeah, wisdom. Probably more.
Okay, and then how do you know you've found wisdom if you're not Christian?
Again, this sounds like a concept, but I'll give you the thing you want. It would align with God. It would align with the truth.
Who's God?
Align with.
Yeah. Who's God?
I know we're going here. So, like I said, in terms of the who, that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know where or why it's even needed. If you could.
Oh, so you can align your will to God, but you don't know who God is or what you're aligning your will to.
Yeah, like I've got the like I think when you talk about like that first baby step, like I have that like first baby step in terms of like clearly there's an essence or there's something that's causing this change. This change is not just random; it's clearly ordered. Like we can see this like the scientists. And this is where like with my argument, if they try to deny it, that like they trap themselves and they start denying science. They're saying, oh, there's no order to chaos, it's all random. Then explain the solar system, this shit you believe in, etc., etc. But like in terms of this, like why do we need a who? Is a question I see a lot of both you, Jay Dar, Andrew, and all this kind of stuff.
Well, because a who, if the truth is just a set of propositions to you, then it's particular. And so if truth is grounded, ultimately it would need to be grounded in a being, and beings are whose, they're not its. So you're kind of floating around in the theological ocean. You're basically like Helen Keller, but by choice. Basically refusing to follow through with the necessary condition that truth itself needs to be grounded in a knowable being. Otherwise, it's a set of propositions that precede you that other people said before you. And so what are you aligning with? Like when you say, what's truth? The same question I asked you 2 years ago is apparently still lingering. The question, what is truth, is a trap question, because the only logically coherent question is, who is truth? What is truth is chasing gnosis. It sounds like you're in a sort of gnosis phase where you're chasing descriptions of reality and, pontificating different ways of looking at the world as it is, as opposed to pursuing participation in a who. Now, isn't it interesting, Tareyak, that when you do come to a descriptive claim and seeking truth, what's the first thing you do when you come to something you believe is true and you're excited about it? What's the first thing you do?
Eureka, or
Yeah,
get
when you have a
excited.
yeah, once you get that, you have it.
Yeah,
What's the first thing you do with that?
speak it, or
Yeah, you tell someone, don't you?
mm-hmm.
So even in the lackluster definition of truth you have, once you have an element of truth or some nugget as an experience, the first thing that you're drawn to doing is participating in that with people. Your first thing is to share it with someone, participatory. It's
Yeah.
participatory. So if the truth is participatory and it's person to person, it makes more sense even intuitively that the truth is a person. Otherwise, what are you interacting with? A rock, a set of particular trees or something? Like the sky looked a certain way, and that's it. Like that's just like temporality. You're just participating in temporality and sharing your descriptions of the beautiful world or the ugly world with people. So that's the big question, is like, if I asked you what's your purpose here, and you said to seek truth, and I would say, why seek truth? And then you go back to meaning. What I'm saying is seeking truth makes sense from a Christian worldview if the truth is a person. And that participating in truth through the Christian paradigm, in particular orthodoxy, in theosis, is the practice of participating with truth as a person. And that supersedes and exceeds any of your experiences of propositional truths where you're like, well, I just figured this out, you guys. Here's how I say it.
No,
Here's
no,
how
no.
I say this truth. Well, what if I told you that the statements of truth are secondary? Those are secondary. They're not important propositions about things. But when we come to the grounding of truth as a being, I'm telling you that you can actually participate in that. And it's not strict propositional, right? Like all these debates, they're all propositional. But everyone knows in the chat who's Orthodox knows that when you walk into the parish and you experience divine liturgy, you're no longer confined in this propositional truth world that the debate sphere and all these panels have, right? So, don't pretend you haven't been told.
Yeah, no, I'm not pretending. No, I'm just saying in terms of the questions, in terms of like the who and all this kind of stuff, like even like the word particular, in terms of like the singing and all this kind of stuff. Then even that aspect where like even as society now, one danger is this whole thing of like the AI. Like
Yeah,
that's
they're gonna,
like
yeah,
the bit where
AI,
you're
sure,
like
AI,
that
but
isn't
what's the
it.
fear? Yeah, but what's the fear of AI though? I mean, it all comes down to whatever you think you're pointing to, Tareyak, in the world, political stuff, technology, bad philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
Islam, trans stuff. Without just leaning on your own intuitions, there has got to be a grounding foundation for why any of that stuff is wrong or disordered or off the mark or sinful or anything. The moment you make a sort of like a charged political statement about it, oh, we got to stop this, right? You said wipe them out, right? Well, I have the same impulse, but the thing is, if you don't have a justification for that, then you're just, you know, kind of floating just like they are. So it's like, I mean, what are you waiting for? Why aren't you, let me ask a question. Why aren't you Muslim?
Yeah, so like in terms of like what I see is that across many spectrums, like an example that I commonly for on my channel is like Easy had the dude First Amender here, one of the trans dudes, and he was like doing the debate of like trans woman is a woman, and like he was asked like what is the definition of is, and he wasn't able to give it. You know what I mean? But is and equals are synonymous, which I'd also put truth in terms of like that aspect as well.
So why aren't you Muslim?
Yeah, so I'm getting that. Like in terms of like when you look at like the aspect of like Islam versus Christianity, it's basically a bastardized version of it. The way I look at Christianity is it's like it's mirrored in the ancient Greeks, it's mirrored in the Norse mythology, it's mirrored all over the place. But when you bring in Mohammedan situation, it doesn't. So
you're saying it's not coherent?
Yeah, true.
You're not Muslim because it's not coherent?
Yep.
Okay, why aren't you Calvinist?
Because predeterminism is a load of bollocks.
Okay, so there's free will. So you have to have, if you're leaning toward a God view that requires free will, you move Calvinism aside. Okay. Well, how about Mormonism?
Yeah, I know we're going to liturgy. We're going to liturgy.
Yeah. You have Mormon face, by the way. So you look like a Mormon. So I mean, you got the foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so why aren't you Mormon?
What's the whole thing with Mormons? I've never really kind of like looked into the.
Well, I mean, they posit that there's no creation and that matter is eternal, and they call it spirit matter, and they believe that God the Father was once a human, and that godliness is a graduation from humanity, and that there is a endless regress of father gods all the way back.
A load of bollocks.
Forever. Well, yeah, right. It's incoherent, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
can I just give you the example? Like. Sorry, Jimbo. Sorry.
No problem.
All right, wee little leprechaun. Like, for example, like Nala Ray is a Christian. Okay.
No, she's not.
Christian. Okay.
Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But like when I look at like Andrew Wilson, when I look at you, when I look at Jay Dyer, you aren't giving me the I have private conversation with God and God's having like all this bollocks, like you're saying the Mormon, all that kind of shit. When you come out, you're literally imploring like what I'd say is the logos, the truth, the logical arguments, all this kind of shit. That's why, like I said, like the whole kind of crucible thing is like.
Okay, but that's I understand, but you're thinking yourself into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck on philosophy and thinking, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is thinking a bad thing?
No, I'm just telling you that there's going to be limits to you thinking. So if you're trying to think your way to the truth, let's say the path is narrow and it's orthodoxy. What I'm telling you is there's a whole other category of experience that isn't propositional or thinking. And so, but you're stuck in your chair on the internet like the rest of us, looking at a camera, trying to proposition and think our way into godliness. And I'm saying that that's not the route to take, and that there's a whole other aspect of your reality that'll be fundamentally altered if you start going to divine liturgy. And you'll go, Jimbo, what the fuck? Why'd you take me so long to tell me about it? And I'm going to say, well, the thing is, you're trying to think your way in, and you can't philosophize your way into that. So you understand already. This is good because it shows me even more so that you have no more excuses. There's no place else for you to think, Tareyak, because the thinking isn't enough. You've already thought your way to necessitate God. You've already reasoned your way why these other things aren't the option because of coherency, right? They're incoherent. If God exists, his church, his practice is going to be coherent. Well, what I'm telling you is I can't tell you that. Like, I could assert that about orthodoxy, but I can't get that into your being from my speaking. The only way you're going to understand the coherency and practice of orthodoxy is that you go. That's the only way to do it. I can't tell you, there's no smart person like Jay or me or anyone else who's going to help you think your way into the doors. You're just going to have to go, and you're going to see a whole new side of what you thought was purely philosophy, and really you're going to probably, like me, enjoy it even more because it's absent all of this overthinking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So,
Yeah. Like what I'm saying is that like, I agree with like the whole Trinity and all this kind of stuff, like I said, but like the way I look at it is like I also want the ancient Greeks, I also want the Norse, like I want all these stories. I just love stories. You know
well,
what I
no,
mean?
that's great. There's actually a distinction in orthodoxy called logos spermaticos, and what it does, like for instance, let me ask you, if there's some truth in paganism, or some truth in this, and some truth in that, isn't it true that if there's particular truths in all of these other traditions and theologies, isn't it true that
There's
there needs to be
universal.
something? Yes.
Yeah.
So there has to be
Yeah.
something that's ultimately true, a paradigm that's ultimately true, for you to look over at anything that's partly true. And so obviously, if you took something that resonated for the word resonate, if that resonated for you in some sort of Norse tradition, you're not practicing it, right?
No, like where I'm coming from the point of view is that when you look at like if Christianity is like the one true way, or Orthodox, specifically Orthodox Christianity is one true way.
Yeah.
Even looking at like Norse mythology and looking at it from the perspective of Loki, it's like that would be something you would necessarily want if you were an Orthodox Christian. You'd want Loki to bring Ragnarok. You'd want Prometheus to
No.
stand
Orthodox
against Zeus.
doesn't. No. Orthodoxy doesn't ground our practice in our wants. That would be
Yeah, well, I'm probably
utility.
phrasing that wrong.
That would be utility based, like you're looking for outcomes in the world, particularly. What we are after is theosis, and that's not something that's going to be grounded in the material rearrangement of objects out in the world. You can rearrange objects to suit your needs, and you could have spiritual vacancy and prelest, total delusion, confusion, and depression, and yet in the midst of everything, seemingly fly on the wall, completely ordered in your favor. Oh, you got a car, you got this, you got that, everything's working well. What's up? What's the problem? Well, the thing is, we believe that part of this reality is our spiritual ailments. And what do you do when you're broken? I mean, not so much these days after COVID, but what do you usually do if you have a broken arm? You don't Google what to do with a broken arm, right? Where
Yeah,
you
you
go
go
to
to
the
the
hospital.
hospital.
Yeah. So the part that seems to be missing in your talking is that there's a spiritual problem. Is there a spiritual problem?
No, like I said, in terms of that aspect of the Holy Spirit, like that's why, like what I was saying in terms of change, like that's the physical manifestation of the quote unquote spirit.
Right, but I'm saying, is there a spiritual problem with man?
Clearly.
Okay, so you believe in sin and fallenness and falling away and moving away from God, privation wise.
Yeah. Like
Okay,
what like Christian would say is sin, like the secular deities would say that's ethically dubious or ethically bad or whatever the fuck, do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
again, like
But
it
I'm
just
saying as
yeah.
spiritual, not just like a normative, like oh, you did something against what the society deemed to be normal. I'm saying that you can act against yourself, right? Spiritually.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So if you can act against yourself and harm yourself, wouldn't you be after the proper true paradigm that can account for what that is and the proper hospital to go to heal the
Mm-hmm.
wounds that are inflicted by yourself? Doesn't that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, why aren't you an Orthodox then? I don't get it. I'm still confused about this leprechaun.
Yeah, because like if I broke my leg, it's like I don't like care who's like fixing my leg. I just like need the first person available to fix my leg, kind of thing.
Well,
You know what I
no,
mean?
there has to be a leg specialist. You don't want a shitty person who doesn't know what they're talking about fixing your leg, right? Some Mexican somewhere, just
Hey,
in an
if he gets the
alley.
job, if he gets the
No.
job done, do you
Well,
know
no,
what I mean?
you won't know. You won't know if he got the job done. So he might accidentally get it done, but doesn't follow that you'll go back to him in the alley, right? So the question is, if there's a truthfulness to the statement, there is spiritual illness. If you believe that,
Mm-hmm.
if there's spiritual illness, there is spiritual wellness.
Oh yeah, like how I would point to was like demoralization, like that's an objective phenomenon, and like the people who like
Mhm.
deny objective morality are fucking retarded.
Right.
Done
So
this,
if there's
but notice, Jimbob, they went after objective truth, they went after objective morality and objective beauty as well. That is
Okay.
apparently beautiful now. But yeah, go ahead.
So if spiritual illness is a movement away from wellness, then there's a standard for spiritual wellness. And if there's a place to get spiritual wellness, I'm asking you, why are you still sitting in your house talking on the internet, trying to do philosophy debates about something that the only thing that matters in this particular category is seeking spiritual wellness? You can't, do you agree you can't seek spiritual wellness on a panel?
Well, like, to find the difference. It's still two individuals communicating.
Well, you're participating with someone else, right? They're not God, right? I'm not God, right?
This actually came up in the page debate, like this whole thing with like the whole digital thing. It's like, is that like a public setting? Is that a
so why don't
setting or
you? I don't
private
understand. Why don't you go to church?
I don't feel as though I need it though.
Oh, so you are spiritually well.
Oh no, I thought you meant in terms of society. What I see in society now, like society is spiritualist, like the atheists who would deny change. All this
Are
kind of
you?
shit, like,
No. Are you spiritually pristine right now?
I don't know what that means.
Like, do you know what it feels like to be spiritually unwell?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that being spiritually unwell, it follows that there's a way to heal spiritual unwellness?
Yeah, true.
Okay. If there's a church that is the hospital for spiritual unwellness, and you believe that there's such a thing as spiritual unwellness, why do you not go to the spiritual hospital for your spiritual unwellness?
Because I can treat it myself. It's not physical, it's metaphysical.
Oh, how do you heal your spiritual unwellness? Yourself.
Because I've been there. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, in terms of being able to rationally and kind of like logically get myself there. But like I said,
so you think, wait a second, you
yeah.
intellectualize your band-aid for your spiritual unwellness is intellectual?
The intellect, yes.
So would you be raised Catholic or something?
Yeah. Bang on, spot on.
Figures.
He's got me, boys.
So so if your intellect can be clouded by sin, how can your intellect heal you?
That's why I point to the divine intellect.
No, you don't have divine intellect unless you participate with that as a person. But so the question is, do you agree that if your intellect as a symptom can be flawed because of your spiritual illness, then you can't appeal to your intellect to heal your spiritual illness, because your intellect is the infection, is the thing that's flawed. So if
I think I know what, yeah.
So,
yeah, I think where you know we're going. So it's like basically, it's like, why would you not go to the literature and all this kind of stuff? Because like even as an individual, as you're coming into the world, how do you know things like forgiveness is actually a good thing, all this kind of stuff, and all the things. Yeah, no, 100%. Like I've no issue with like people going to the Orthodox. All this kind of
I didn't ask if you had an issue. You obviously have an issue with yourself going, and that's the only thing that matters right now. Is that if you agree that your own remedy that you stated is flawed, your own thinking is actually flawed right now, because you said, I don't need to go to church. I don't need to go to the spiritual hospital. I don't need to participate in the body of Christ himself. I don't need to participate in the bridegroom. Why? Because I can do it myself, you see? And I go, how do you do it yourself? And you say, I use my intellect. And then I said, if your intellect is the thing that is horrid, if your intellect is the thing that's infected, caused by spiritual illness, how can you use the intellect? That's like saying I have an infection and I'm using the pus to heal myself.
Again, I'm not denying the practices or the stated like Christian ethics, etc., etc. Do you know what I mean?
I know that.
But like in terms of like why I'm not going, like to me, like I just don't, like I said, my response, I just don't think I need it.
Obviously your thinking is not right if I just showed how your own thinking is flawed. So what if you didn't know you needed it? How would you know that?
Well, like that's why, but again, in terms of like the public, like I engage in the public.
Wait, Tareyak.
You know what I mean?
How would you know that you did need it, but you thought you didn't? How would you know that? that you didn't know you needed it? How would you know that?
Because life would become meaningless.
Wait, hold on. You said I don't need it. I said, how would you know that you did need it, but you didn't know you didn't know? You didn't know. You wouldn't know, right? It's impossible, right?
And if you don't know, then you know. Yeah.
So it's the only way
I forgot
to
to
know.
study my epistles.
Okay, so the only way you'll know if you needed it is to go, right?
You know, like I was raised Roman Catholic.
I know that's heretical and leads you to thinking. It leads you to
Yes.
natural theology,
Thinking
right?
bad. Sorry, yeah.
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
thinking good. Thinking good. It's just that your reasoning can't bring you to this because as I just showed you from the Orthodox view, Tareyak, and I think this is what's so, I don't want to say frustrating. It's just because I known you a bit, that you really are after the truth, and yet you're philosophically grounded, right? You're interested in this, and you're looking for a paradigm that's wholly complete, right? Completely intact, right? And you're given it. All the people you know that you're drawn to, we're giving it to, and you're going, well, I just don't think I need it. You're trying to pick off from the shelf without checking out, right? And so the thing is, the beautiful thing about Orthodoxy, and you in particular, Tareyak, is that you're going to really adapt to it quickly because of this want that you have. For instance, if you learn the distinction, the nous, in Orthodoxy, you can abandon this creature called intellect. And so the other aspect of your reality, which is so important for your participation, is that your nous is another, let's say, metaphysical organ, for a lack of a better category term. And if that is clouded by sin, your intellect, the other apparatus that God gave us, will be clouded in judgment. And so you become spiritually blind. In Orthodoxy, you call it prelest, spiritual delusion. The key component, I would say, not to put you on the spot, but one of the red flags for people in prelest, and I can't make that declaration for you that you're in that. I'm not in the authority to do that. But I will say one indication of it would be, I don't need spiritual healing. I can do it myself. I would say that that is one of the biggest red flags for people who are aware that they could be spiritually misled, but they rely on their own thinking and reasoning as the ultimate barometer for being spiritually unled. They say, well, I go, well, how do you know you're not being spiritually misled? And you say, well, my reasoning. And I'm saying, well, your reasoning, all sorts of people do all sorts of types of reasoning to justify spiritual unwellness and the continuation of practices, right?
But Jimbob, can you hold yourself accountable?
Ultimately?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
No, just
God
just
holds me as
just in general.
I could, yeah, well, to certain, for certain things, I'm accountable.
And that's you judging yourself.
Well, no, judgment is different than holding myself accountable. The thing is, I can hold myself to account, but the thing is, what is holding yourself to account if you don't take yourself to
developing the rational faculties in order to
No, you're back to natural theology again. What is the use of holding yourself accountable? Let's say I miss the mark and I sin. The accumulation of missing the mark and sinning, am I my own judge? I kind of knock on the courthouse of Jimbob, and I'm both the person being accused and I'm the judge talking to myself? No. Holding myself to account from a Christian paradigm would be going to the hospital, confessing, participating in the Eucharist.
Yeah, no. In terms of the public,
humility. If hold on. Fasting and the rest. There must be a practice for man to hold himself accountable.
I fast every day.
But for what reason?
Because it's healthy.
Well, no, that's materialism.
But Jimbob, if you hold God to be true and the truth is the way, then you by definition you have to admit that God's position can be logically justified. That is what the Logos is.
We're not
what you're saying now, I don't understand.
No. What? Well, no. If you agree, the Logos.
You're saying your rationality, Jim. You're saying Tareyak, throw away that rationality, and I'm saying I ain't throwing that shit away, Jimbob.
No. I didn't say throw it away. I said if the rationality part can be clouded by sinful sin, what I need you to understand is that spiritual illness can affect your rational faculties. Are you saying that's not true?
Yes, and that's why you engage in the public, and you have that metaphysical strife and conflict.
So the public is your church.
Yes.
So you participate in other men, not God himself in the public. Would
I
you say
participate. One sec. I participate
What
with other
church-
men. One sec, Jim Bob. I participate with other men and engage in metaphysical war.
I know, but the
So
thing
we point to the higher power and we make
Where?
objective claims. What's
Who?
one sec. What's World War debate? Again, shout out to World War debate. What's World War debate for?
What's it for? I would say
Yeah.
entertainment for one, entertainment. I would say second
two?
would be to debate certain topics, not always theological based, but ultimately, when it comes down to
pursue
the
the
question,
truth.
yeah, well, it could be, but not all
Yeah.
entertainment pursues the truth. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, but in a way, you could consider that to be a church. There's a stage. There's
No,
There's
not
truth
even
being-
close. No, it's not. I would not call that
No.
a church. That's an event space.
okay.
The church. There's only
And
one
churches
church.
are in a-
So
and
church
church-
isn't plural, right?
Liturgy is an event.
Well, no, liturgy you could say is an event. It's the work of the people, but it's in a specific context, right? That you're actually participating in eternal, right? You're talking about
Yes.
is God necessary for eternal? Well, I'm pointing you to participation in the eternal, and you're saying no. Let me just stick to
Yes.
the
No, I'm
online panel
agreeing with you.
discussions.
No,
So-
I've agreed to that. No, I'm saying I'm going to the public, and I'm saying if you're willing to
What
prove me
public?
wrong, then prove me wrong.
No. How are you really equating in the context of spiritual ailments? Are you really saying that when you show up on a panel, even tonight, that's equivalent? That's a adequate substitute to what the spiritual healing would be liturgically?
No.
Okay, why not?
What I'm saying is that through the strife which came up in the previous debate, through the strife of like both the metaphysical with the physical, that's how you achieve or you develop your rational faculty skills.
Well, no. We already undermine the rational faculties. What I'm pointing to, Tareyak, is if there's
And the
another
eternals.
if there's another element, another attribute, let's say another metaphysical organ that's not directly identical to your intellect, what if that thing was clouded and you say, well, I'll just go back to the debate, which is going to the intellect? What I'm saying, Tareyak, is I'm asking you to consider if the intellect is clouded and it's clouded by something spiritual. I said, how do you know you're remedying that? And you said, we'll just go back to the public church and debate more. Well, no, that's more intellect.
No. Yeah, because like those spiritual will manifest as either logic, like contradictions.
No. I'm saying that's still rationality.
Yes.
It's still rational. What I'm saying is spiritual healing would go beyond pure intellect. So you're trying to think your way to healing.
No,
which
God,
is very-
God would.
Thinking yourself to healing is very Catholic. You're really stuck in it. Obviously, your cradle perhaps is that it's so embedded in you to go, yeah, no, Jimbob, I understand that my intellect can be flawed because of my sinful status. My noose is clouded, right? Look at it this way, dude. Here's an analogy. Your windshield is your noose, your spiritual noose. So if your noose is clouded with sin, you can't see the road, right? What I'm saying is that you're trying to use the windshield itself to uncloud the windshield. I'm saying, no, you have to use the windshield wiper. I'm saying the windshield wiper is the church. The windshield wiper is not the intellect. The intellect in this analogy is the windshield. So if you can't see through the
I got that,
windshield,
yeah.
how do you clean the windshield without the proper cleaning tool? And you're saying, well, no, I can do that with the windshield. Is that rational to say I'll clean the windshield with the windshield? No.
Like in the way,
Hold on,
no.
stick with it. Just don't go away. Don't go away.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Is
sure,
that rational?
Yeah.
Is it rational to say I'll clean the clouded windshield with the windshield?
No.
So you need something to
Okay.
clean the windshield, right?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of the way I see it, Jim Bob, like the what's manifesting now. This is why, like I said, I use the ancient Greeks. Is that like Zeus is coming to power, and like in terms of this whole aspect, like if I see the like even if I see the ground that like God is real, God exists, like this aspect, the metaphysical and
You can't
physical,
concede that.
like
You can't do that.
I can't even concede. You're not even letting me concede.
No, I won't let you concede on that. Why?
Okay, so
Why?
okay,
Because it only gets to a soft theism or soft deism. It's meaningless to say that if you don't hold ultimately to a revelatory system. So, for instance, that's more intellect and natural theology from your Catholic upbringing sneaking in, saying, I will reason myself to God existing. And yet that's bottom up. That's you thinking upward to God. What we're saying is, no, God's existence was revelatory first, then we got knowledge, then we got reasoning. So revelatory from creation gives us the access to using our faculties, our logic, our reasoning, our nous. And the purpose in our thinking, the purpose that you even have to use your faculties, what would it be if not to know and participate with God? What would it be? What's the only other thing it could be?
Yeah, so an aspect of this, like if you took a man and fucked him into the middle of the ocean, like no matter what man it is, he's going to fight to try and get his breath. Like there's a survival instinct in human that's undeniable, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so in terms of this aspect of like survival, in terms of like you have to be able to look to the future. That's why I always bring up Prometheus. Prometheia means forethought. You need to be looking to the future.
Tareyak, but the question was really clear. You're not answering the question.
I am asking why I don't go to liturgy.
No. That's not what I asked. I asked you if the purpose of your faculties, if you grant yourself that it's from God, but you just don't know who God is. I asked you what is the purpose of using your faculties properly, if not to know and participate in God? What else would it be? Why would you use your faculties?
To survive.
For what? So survival. So then anything worth surviving is then good. Anything that produces survival is good then.
But that's how the world works. Like this is the whole force doctrine. No.
We don't say that anything used to survive is good. If you had to fuck a pig in front of your family just so you can live, would you?
No, saying no. Actually, you're saying where's that coming from? And that's like in terms of like survival.
No, survival is
like based into your survival. In terms of like the actual. One second. In terms of the aspect of living, like like life cannot exist without meaning.
Well, forget the meaning. Let's just say pure survival.
Technology couldn't exist without meaning.
Well, you're skipping around here. So forget meaning. What if it's just survival is the main feature, right? Take an evolutionary view on this, right? If survival is your ultimate goal, then pursuing truth necessarily isn't your ultimate goal because you can lie to survive, right?
No.
You couldn't lie to survive?
No. And this is how you can point to morality.
Dude,
demoralization. One sec. Demoralization is not living in reality.
Dude, focus.
It's a bunch of gaslighting and shit like that.
Dude,
so in terms of like that as an objective phenomenon, that can't be denied either.
You're running. Hold on a second. Stay right here. I asked you, why should we pursue the truth? Why use your faculties? And ultimately you said to survive. I said, yes. Can't you lie to survive? That is the pursuit of truth. You can't lie to survive. Really?
It does not work out.
What do you mean it doesn't work out? People lie to survive all the time.
Yes.
So what do you mean it doesn't work out?
Lies. Yeah, and there's even noble lies, but every time and time again, no empire lasts, Jimbob.
We're not talking about the lasting empire. We're talking about for whatever amount of time.
We're talking about change. We're talking about change.
So look, if your argument is nothing survives, then your whole argument that I pursue truth to survive is moot anyway. You've just defeated your own argument.
How?
If everything just dies, there's no purpose in pursuing the truth to survive if surviving is something that... Yeah. So
part of change, part of life is death.
I understand, but
why? And the spirit in between.
Why pursue truth then if everything is just going to be death?
Because that is meaning, that is life.
No, that
is how to survive.
Tell me why? No, that doesn't tell me
why.
I
life.
should do that.
Life is survival. Is life surviving?
No.
Can you be living and not? Can you be living and not survive? Would you say he didn't survive, but he's still living?
You could thrive. You can thrive. What do you mean?
This dude didn't survive, but he's still alive.
Tareyak, I feel like you're the one drinking bourbon tonight, and it's me. It's me who's drinking bourbon, but I feel like it's you.
I'm a leprechaun. It is what it is. He's after me lucky charms.
Is there a difference
between pot of gold? I'm not letting him get me pot of gold. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a difference between thriving and surviving?
Yeah, sure.
So the thing is, I asked you, why ought we pursue truth? Because ultimately you're saying, well, I use metaphysics and I do logic and I do all these panels. And this came out of my question about healing. Now, I really shouldn't let you out of the hole of healing because it's ultimately the best thing for you, talking to me right now, because you're arguing that your own intellect can serve as the spiritual hospital. And the spaces of debating, whether it's in Atlantic City or in Nashville, is your church. And I'm saying, well, no, the thing that's broken from a spiritual position, if your thinking is broken, that you can be clouded in thought from your own sin, from your own nihilism, from your own torment. If your thinking can be clouded, back to the windshield analogy, what are you using to clean your windshield? If your windshield is the intellect that's fogged, what are you using?
Rational,
Holy
reason,
fuck,
empirical evidence, logic,
the windshield,
the logos.
Dude. Woo. Hold on. If your rationality, thinking, and logic is the clouded windshield, that's what's clouded. What do you use
But that's
to uncloud
one sec.
it?
That would be subjective. That would be subjective.
So
It has to be objective.
No, hold on. Can your rationality and reasoning and logic be broken and diluted?
Yeah, it can be, possibly. Yeah, correct.
How do you heal that if you're saying the cut heals itself? The snake that bit you,
yes,
to heal it.
We will get there, brother. We will get there, brother. Yes,
hold on.
Yeah, don't worry.
To heal the rattlesnake bite, you just let it bite you again. No, I asked you a very simple question.
You go to the public. You remember we said you go to the public, and then you express
this public
that
we're in
view.
today.
Yeah, this is technically public.
Wait. The public that thinks that boys can have babies, that public?
Yeah, they're retarded.
No, that's the public, right? Wait, hold on.
No, that's one aspect of the public, because you're also part of the public. Are you part of the public, motherfucker?
Okay,
do you think, or do you believe in trans?
No.
Yeah, okay, there we go. There we go. Okay.
Tareyak,
Yeah, so let me continue.
Tareyak.
You go to the public and you voice that. Listen to me, Jimbob. You go to that and you voice that, and they will point out a contradiction or a mistaken identity or
and how does that spiritually heal you?
It's violating excluded middle. One of the three laws of logic. It'd be illogical.
That's great. How does that spiritually heal you?
Because would you agree that mentally ill or spiritually ill would be that you're illogical?
No, I would say illogical would be the symptom of it. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes. So then by pointing out contradiction, you cure it.
No.
Yeah, so by going to the public.
No. There are atheists who point out contradictions in other atheists, right? That doesn't mean they're spiritually healed. Not
fully.
Well, no. What, dude?
Yeah, but with more interaction with the public, if they were to publicly interact with you, they'd be more spiritually healed, correct?
Dude, this is how horrific Catholicism is. It's truly horrific.
Yes or no, Jimbob? Yes or no? Would they be more spiritually healed if they had an interaction with you?
No.
And they end up going liturgy. They end up going to liturgy, they're not more spiritually healed.
No, now you've added liturgy.
Yes. When I put my ass on the table, you're like, oh shit, yeah, let's get Tareyak in. What I'm saying is, if that was the outcome, would they be more spiritually healed by engaging in the public?
No, absolutely not necessarily. No. In fact, it might be the opposite, Tareyak. It actually might be the case that once you start going to liturgy, that you stop interacting with the public. That actually might create more spiritual healing.
Yeah, so become antisocial.
No, just
and let the Muslims take over Dearborn.
No one said that. That's a different issue than
no one said that. That's what's happening. The reason why it happened is because no one's saying that. But yeah,
no, that's a red herring, because the question is that spiritual healing would need to be required even if Muslims weren't taking over.
Yep, I can agree with that.
Okay, so let's pretend we live in a decadent society where everything's going pretty much how you think it should be going, rationally speaking. There's no Muslims, there's no boys cutting their dicks off and whatnot. Everything's just close to pristine, right? Isn't it still possible that you can fall spiritually?
True, like even in Star Wars.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So forget what's the logical contradiction from a purely secular position out on the debate stage of you acting against yourself in private?
Because it will lead to death, inevitably.
Wait, like what would lead to death?
you would be pursuing death, because even from the aspect of like gaslighting and lies alone, if you subject enough people to lies, what you call sins, all this kind of stuff, leaving them, eventually they lose the will to live. They lose their meaning.
Okay, and you mean like physical death, like your body dies? Is that the death you're talking about?
No, this is actually a really good question, Jimbo. To be fair, just to slip off the mask for a sec. In terms of the like that aspect, once we have the metaphysical thing, get past the atheist, this whole aspect of like the afterlife, you are not just physical, you're also metaphysical. You're like this whole thing of you're made in the image of God, so beautiful.
Oh,
all this kind of stuff.
Do you think you're made in the image of God?
Like in terms of that aspect, like I think that's beautiful poetry for describing you're also part of metaphysical, which means if your physical dies,
listen, Jordan Peterson. Hey, what have you been eating raw meat? Calm down, Jordan Peterson.
I actually am carnivore. Not joke. Like, shout out to my boy JP.
Is it more than this? Is what happens when things are purely symbolic. Another tradition.
This is what happens when you let Rome rule. You know what I'm saying? You start letting the weirdos in, the leprechauns and shit.
Yeah. Yes. So it's very Catholic. It's all very Catholic of you to appeal to symbolism as if that's enough. Well, no. Are you actually made in God's image?
Like, what does that mean, Jimbo?
It means that you're made in the image of God in regards to your status. Like, for instance, we're particular and peculiar creatures with purpose in his eyes. And that includes not just our ability to do metaphysics, philosophy, rationality, reasoning, logic, but we have the ability to participate in worship and Christian deontology, that we actually have a duty to our own existence. There's a duty, a moral duty. So do you believe you have a moral duty?
Can I actually just go back and forth on this? Because like I said, please be patient.
Well, you are a
Please be patient. My mom did take Tylenol, okay? My mom took Tylenol, Jimbo, okay?
I feel like you're halfway in the rainbow.
Yeah. But like no, in terms of in terms of like that aspect of deontology, the issue I have is like, would you be saying like in the cart, if your duty was to let's say not push the trolley, or not push the button for the trolley and let 5 people die because that was the duty opposed to 1, would you press the button or not press the button?
No, I wouldn't know. Under the trolley problem, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if I was doing the right thing.
Can you explain?
I have a duty
because I suffer with this as well. Because
the trolley problem. Someone is harmed no matter what, and someone's life is going to be taken. And the trolley problem creates kind of a false dilemma in that it assumes that you are the judge of whether or not you did a good action or not, right? But the thing is, if you just didn't know and you just hoped and prayed that you did the right thing and that you would be judged according to the knowledge you had, would be true judgment under a Christian paradigm, that you're judged by your knowledge. You don't know. You don't know the problem. You don't know the right answer, right? But you hope and you pray. You don't know. You could be paralyzed and not do anything. You could choose one or the other. You could burden yourself with what ifs forever, right? That's what Satan wants. Burden yourself with what ifs forever. So the trolley problem isn't really even relevant to this topic. The question is, in your life, day-to-day life, do you have any duties? Because if you think the symbology of being made in God's image is cute, right? That's more intellectualizing. That's more like, well, that's a cute way of saying it. But the thing is, if it's actual, it suddenly changes your perspective on what you do and don't do in your life. One being, Tareyak, taking your lazy leprechaun ass to church, you know-it-all retard.
Yeah, so like the thing that like I say is it's like it's the reason why it's poetic, or it has to be poetic, or it has to rhyme in some sort of ways, because like that's why how the ancient Greeks wrote. That's why it's stuck in people's mind, because it was that.
Lame, dude.
I'm sorry for trying to explain meaning here. You know, I thought we were all about God here, but anyways, like that's the way I kind of like grasp it, or I try to put it forward. You know what I mean? And like in terms of like
that's really beautiful, Tareyak.
Yeah, but in
have you considered writing an AI song about it or something? I'm talking about the reason.
Let me make my point. You just asked me a question and you won't even fucking think. You know what I'm saying? Hogging the stage here. But yeah, no, for real, it's like in terms of like this whole thing of like with deontology versus utilitarianism, are you telling me that like if you did know that the outcome was going to be vastly bad, let's say for like Christians as a whole,
you don't?
But
I
the duty
reject
was.
utilitarian. No, I reject utilitarian for that reason. You don't know the future. That's the defeater to utilitarianism. It's a completely hypothetical with the assumption that you have the knowledge of God, which you don't. What you do have is faith in God. What you do have is a praxis. What you do have is a revealed church that you can actually go to deal with these problems, right? And they're not all figured out, by the way. You participate, you fall, you get up, you fall, you get up, you fall. You don't think your way into a hypothetical where you did the right thing, pretending you're the judge, right? That it's the opposite. You're the chief sinner, bro. Do you even believe in sin?
Yeah.
Do you even believe in sin?
Yes.
Yes, it's a really poetic thing. I really like the poetry of sin.
No, I'm complimenting the fact that it is poetic.
When
but
I
it's the
miss
fact
the
that it's
target
poetic,
on,
it's
I
necessary.
sin. Yeah,
It's necessary. Okay.
Okay. Does sin have an effect on you? Does sin have an
even-
effect on you?
Yes.
Okay. Does sin have an effect on your thinking?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. How would you know that you did need the church for spiritual healing? How would you know
Interacting
you
with the
needed
public.
it? You would
Interacting with the
fuck,
public.
dude. You would know
Like getting
if-
roasted by Jim Bob for 2
Tareyak,
hours on the
Tareyak.
debate. Like that might, you know.
No,
Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
Tareyak. If orthodoxy is the true church, how would you know you didn't need that if you've never participated?
Like I'm pretty sure like there's plenty of clips online, all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
Like
you
actual liturgies
fucking,
and all this thing.
you're such a, I'm gonna, no TOS. How would you know if you didn't experience it? Watching a video online is not experiencing divine liturgy. So the correct answer, Tareyak, if you're an honest person, is I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know, Jim Bob.
I don't know, Jim Bob.
Oh,
Please
glory
tell
to
me more.
God. Glory to God. Just getting this guy to say I don't know tonight is like the win, really. So if you don't know if church, in this case, Orthodox liturgy, if you don't know that's the thing that you actually need, and it's you thought you needed more intellectualism, and that's what I thought, Tareyak. You're very reflective of me in my 5 years ago, which I wanted to think my way into all of these things. I wanted to think my way into God, hold on, so that I didn't have to go to church. Guess what? If I have to do that, then I have some obligation, and then I have duties, and then something's needed of me, and then I have to give and all this stuff, right? It seemed totally reasonable to go, if I can just sit in my house with a fucking leprechaun meme hat, I don't have to go do anything. Okay. What I'm saying, Tareyak, is
He's also wearing a green hat.
I'm saying your existence of not being demanded of is actually spiritually bad for you.
No, I don't disagree in terms of like the duty aspect and all this kind of stuff. Because like I said, like I do like 1 meal a day, every single day. You know what I mean? Like I do a lot of the practices. I mean, and like I said, like I have no issue with that. But in terms of
dude, what is wrong with you? That's like saying I do math. I'm participating in God because I do math problems every day. That's legalism. What are you, a Jew? What are you, a filthy Jew?
Oy vey. Oy vey. L'chaim. But no, like in terms of
I do lots of things. We do that,
I'm
and I do math, and then I fast, and then,
Bob. Oy
and I have an automatic water machine on Sunday, so I don't need to push the button.
Dude,
I'm talking here. But yeah, so like
your excuses to not go to liturgy
if
are
I'm doing,
so sad.
But bro, like what you're basically saying is what you're trying to say is that Tareyak, you're doing a lot of the right things. Become liturgy so you can do more right things. Like motherfucker, if I'm doing the right things anyway.
No, you're not doing the right things because you're just doing actions. That's like saying like atheists could technically just donate some of their money to some fund and they're participating in a godly thing of the thing they reject, right? What I'm telling you is that the participation is the context for the participation is essential, that you can't separate the two. For instance, do you believe reading the Bible? Do you ever read the Bible?
Yeah. All the time.
Do you think it's an edifying thing to read the Bible?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. Without a church,
Book of Job, one of the greatest stories ever written.
I understand.
Hands down.
So without a church and a tradition, how could it be a good edifying thing to read the Bible?
Yep. Orthodox Church, 100%. Like I said.
Why aren't you going? I don't get it.
Because like I said, I don't think I need it, Jim Bob.
I just told you that you don't know if you need it. What if you don't know you need it?
But like
I'm just gonna say I don't need it over and over again. Well, you know who else says that? A lot of fucking people. A lot of people say they don't need shit. You know what? You know else when someone says you need help, right? You need to get off heroin. You know what the heroin addict says?
I don't need it.
I don't need it. You fucking junkie.
All right, that is
Yeah,
that's gonna wrap up the open hour portion of the debate. All right, if you're enjoying what you've seen tonight, make sure you sub over on SpeakeaZy Show so that you don't miss more debates just like this one. Thank you everybody for watching Swords of Reason.
Thank you.